Bene, bene, buongiorno a tutti, mi sentite? Ok, ci siamo. Buongiorno a tutti, grazie per essere qui in questo incontro.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here with us. Unfortunately, one of our speakers is a bit late, but we're getting started anyway.
Il convegno di oggi è dal titolo appunto Evoluzione della propulsione delle macchine agricole.
This meeting is titled Evolution of Propulsion in Agricultural Machinery, and the idea is providing an overview of the state of the art. I will introduce the speakers who will provide such an overview. We'll have FTT with Diego Rotti, and then Kohler that will provide an update on this topic, on all possible propulsions, Mr. Mancuso, CNH, Mr. Forati, Argo Tractors, and Mr. Esposito, who will provide practical examples on how can these propulsions be applied in the real world. Unfortunately, in Mr. Contessini from Merlo Company, unfortunately, there was a terrible loss for the company, Merlo, and the whole sector of agricultural mechanization. I'll make a short introduction and leave time to the speakers.
Semplicemente questo, il quadro attuale in cui noi ci troviamo, quindi il quadro legislativo.
So let me give you a framework, a reference framework. The European legislation includes Regulation 2016/628 plus the delegate regulations about the emissions of off-road vehicles. So it is stated that starting October 1st, 2022, the engines of off-road vehicles, in order to be acceptable, must be compliant with stage 5. So if we want to talk about the future, the new challenges envisaged by the European Green Deal, aiming at climate neutrality, carbon neutrality by 2050. In order to do so, a package of regulations are implemented called Fit for 55. So the constructors of off-road vehicles are testing new solutions, and which should be more sustainable, and more ambitious targets are envisaged using alternative fuels, zero impact, renewable fuels, and as a consequence of the energy crisis, alternative fossil fuels are taken into account. I'll now give the floor to Mr. Diego Rotti for FPT, who will talk about the decarbonization process and how it's actually implemented. And then Mr. Mauro Mancuso from Kohler will take the floor and talk about a more sustainable future.
Ok, buongiorno a tutti. Intanto mi presento, sono Diego Rotti e mi occupo
Diego Rotti, and I'm in charge of product portfolio and marketing for off-road applications in FPT Industrial. I'd like to thank FederUnacoma for inviting us to take part in this meeting. In fact, this is an opportunity to have an exchange on the state of the industry and in view of future developments. In this presentation, I will go back to the introduction provided by Mr. Menghi. I will talk about the challenge of decarbonization and actually the steps we're taking in terms of prototypes and practical solutions at FPT Industrial. Just a few words about our company. We are a company of the Iveco Group, manufacturing propulsion systems for industrial applications, about 500,000 engines a year, and over 130,000 of them are used for agricultural applications, from combines to sprayers and tractors. So we have a good client base that we have to take into account and meet their requirements. In 100 years of history, we've always worked on the innovation of propulsion systems, motors, and new technologies more recently. And this innovation and development has gone through three macro phases. The first one, that was in the 1900, the development of the diesel engine technology, improving performance, electronic injection, efficiency, and many technical developments. Over the last 15 to 20 years, end of the past century, beginning of the year 2000, we were trying to reduce polluting emissions, improving productivity, which is an inevitable requirement. But much of the technological development was aimed at reducing polluting emissions. In fact, the industry was required to gradually introduce regulations that became stricter and stricter in order to reduce the pollutant. And at FPT, we introduced some pioneering solutions in terms of efficiency and post-treatment. The last challenge that we're going through right now, and is the topic of today's meeting, is the challenge of decarbonization. We know that reducing polluting emissions and CO2 emissions is the main technological driver in the development of machines and propulsion systems. To date, no magical formula has been identified and fit for all solutions for all machines. In consideration of the multiplicity of agricultural applications, the special harvesting requirements, combine harvesters, there are different approaches in brief. And at FPT, we are considering different solutions from starting from improving efficiency of current engines, start using renewable fuels, and research into hydrogen as an energy vector, and electrification, so either electric only or hybrid solutions. A year ago, we took part in a meeting here at EIMA where we presented our main strategic pillars. Investing on diesel engine technology and improve its efficiency and reduce CO2 emissions, working on alternative fuels, and starting research into new technologies, batteries, hybrids, hydrogen. A year later, what can we say? What's happened? We are still operating in a situation where no specific regulations are available yet about CO2 reduction, while in the automotive sector, the EU has already introduced regulations. In the off-road world, there's no legislation available yet. All current developments are aimed at improving products and making it more sustainable. But there's no framework legislation for us to make reference to. At FPT, we've invested onto the development pillars mentioned last year. We worked on prototypes for off-road vehicles and started manufacturing new solutions based on new technologies that will then be used in the off-road vehicle sector. mid-October Turin, we opened a new plant that will manufacture high-voltage battery packages and electrified systems. So research is being put into practice with industrial solutions applied to the road setting, where there's more pressure from the market and the legislators, but we'll use this knowledge and industrial capability to transfer it to the agricultural world, where requirements and needs are different, but certainly one of our strong points is using the industrial basis that we're working on. Some of our projects, just to give you some practical examples when it comes to lab work and benchmarking. A first development area is the biomethane and the sustainable and circular biosystems that can be developed in the agricultural world thanks to biomethane, autosustainability, production of renewable fuel coming from urban and agricultural waste, and promoting agricultural circular economy and vehicles that have a zero impact, meaning they have a neutral carbon footprint as they're using CO2 that are previously sequestered from the atmosphere. So what are the projects that we've been working on? One is the first tractor that's already available on the market. You can buy it, which is T-Syme Methane by New Holland. It's a biomethane fueled 6.7 liter methane engine can be operated on methane and biomethane. Same reliability, robustness, and performance as its diesel brother. It's a New Holland actually actively started selling this tractor. As regards concepts and prototypes, we're exploring the application of methane propulsors in different sectors, in small tractors for vineyards, for instance, and we have a pilot project on a crawler tractor for vineyard that we're using in a project funded by the Piedmont region to promote the biomethane chain in the vineyards of Fontana Fredda. The aim is having a Barolo harvest that has a zero impact thanks to the use of biomethane, a Barolo harvest, and we're testing vehicles on the field. The last, but not least project in time terms is still about the use of biomethane within circular biosystems in agriculture, but for power generation. You can see this electrogen group, which is currently being tested in southern England on a farm with a partner, with Beneman, an English startup, developing these biomethane ecosystems all along the whole chain, from management of agricultural waste, purification and conversion into biomethane, and then liquefaction, should it be transformed. And so this group is used to generate electricity to be used on the farm. And the feature is that we use the same engine as the vineyard tractor, gas power 2.8 liter. It was combined with a hybrid electrogen group connected to an electric engine with a battery, which is one of the batteries that we started manufacturing at our plant in Turin in order to store energy. The idea is we have this power generating group, and based on the requirements of the company, can provide everything with a thermal engine, but if more power is requested, it's using what's been accumulated in the battery. So it's a hybrid concept applied to power generation in a biomethane chain. The first prototype is currently being tested on this farm in southern England. Switching to another fuel, we have hydrogen. Hydrogen can certainly become one of the most interesting energy vectors in the future, with a number of implications due to the potential development of infrastructure. That is, of course, something that is yet to be taken into account, but can be used in fuel cells to produce electricity. Can also be used as a fuel for engines. The advantage being that you keep the traditional vehicle architecture. Of course, you will need to provide a hydrogen system, but the vehicle doesn't need to be electrified, and you can keep the traditional architecture. We presented a new generation of industrial engines, 13-liter, high efficiency, so high fuel efficiency. Even in a diesel version, we have 6 to 8% reduction in CO2 emissions. It will be introduced starting in 2024 for road application, and then for large agricultural machinery. Being a new engine family, it's been designed in order to be able to be operated on other fuels, including hydrogen. Hydrogen as a fuel is still being worked on. We're working on direct hydrogen injection, which provides more efficiency and better performance, but longer development times. So we're working on a prototype, and a first prototype of a 13-liter hydrogen 460 HP has been installed on this object. This is a snowcat by Prinot, one of the world leaders in solutions for ski resorts. Ski resort and ski tracks management. The prototype was presented in September, and we are waiting for the snow for the winter season in order to test it on the tracks. It's certainly a very challenging application, certainly not the simplest one to test a new technology, but it's certainly a way to put it to test in a challenging context, at least in terms of temperature. Last point, electrification. Electrification is being tackled in different ways. Number one, the hybrid technology, introducing electrified systems on board the vehicles. We're now working on a prototype of the 2.8-liter engine, which is the latest FDT engine, very compact, combined with an electric engine. We started off from a low voltage 48 volt solution that will be tested shortly, but it can be, the voltage can be increased. The main upside, especially for specialized vehicles in agriculture, is, besides providing all the benefits of the hybrid technology, efficiency, smaller engine, the simplified post-treatment system, the advantage is providing power to electrified implements, which is one of the main benefits. We're now working on a prototype with New Holland, and if Mr. Fiorati, when he comes, will talk about it. And then purely electric vehicles. And here we are extending our battery solutions already introduced and being manufactured for road applications to the off-road applications. At our stand, we have a first prototype of high voltage lithium-ion 48 kilowatt-hour battery for off-road applications. It's been tested on a first application, one of our customers. but it's in line with our vision, i.e. introducing the solutions by using the technology for already tested on-road applications, which is adapted to the off-road vehicles in agriculture. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm here for questions if you have any.
Buongiorno a tutti, mi presento, sono Mauro Mancuso,
My name is Mario Mancuso, Senior Product Manager of Kohler Group. The Kohler Group is less well known as the FPT Group, my previous colleague represented, but I can tell you that we've been manufacturing engines since 1922 with the name Kohler first, and the old name was Lombardini. I'm going to present Kohler's vision for the future and the technologies that can be applied from day one. Starting today, let me give you an overview of our short overview of our market vision, how we see the market in the future. In the near future, in a more sustainable future, we see a fragmented market, meaning we can't see a disruptive technology on the market. So we'll be experimenting on solutions where the engine and the technology will be tailor-made for the machine. Of course, the duty cycle will be important, the way, the power, and how long should the power be made available for. We're focusing on battery packs, as mentioned by the FederUnacoma colleague, but this is still quite challenging. Batteries are still quite expensive. They can't provide a power density which is actually beneficial and sufficient to meet current requirements. For Kohler, future strategic pillars are three. Number one, we'll keep investing on diesel engines, which in our opinion are still unreplaceable and the most efficient technological solution for the time being. But we are very focused on alternative fuels, including hydrogen. And as you'll be able to see in our booth, the electrification and hybridization. So a product is ready to be put on the market with considerable benefits for agricultural machinery. What can be done starting today for a more sustainable environment and a positive impact on human health? First of all, the HVO. The HVO is a synthetic fuel extracted from renewable oils, which allows us to reduce engine emissions up to 90% of CO2 emissions. It's an important alternative, not a final solution, because in order to produce HVO, you need a considerable amount of energy, but still, it may contribute to reducing CO2 emissions into the environment. My suggestion is come and visit our booth. All our engines are certified for HVO use. And last but not least, our latest launch, the KSD engine, a small engine which we are presenting here at EMA. and we're very proud of. HVO is not the only renewable fuel that can be found on the market. There are more coming up. GTL, gas to liquid, and BTL, biomass to liquid. There are special substances. We are testing engines with these renewable fuels, which do not provide a final solution, not a disruptive technology, but they are potentially useful in terms of reducing CO2 emissions. Kohler is extremely focused on renewable fuels. We have joined the e-Fuel Alliance as a result of our commitment. This alliance is trying to raise awareness and promote the production of alternative fuels and renewable energy sources. Many alternative fuels has been experimented on and can certainly contribute to reducing CO2 emissions. What are we working on? What are our projects? Kohler is a small company, very active, with great projects in store, as we've been able to prove over the last few years with our results. We have a whole portfolio new products, including natural gases from fossil energy sources can be applied to cogeneration systems and earth-moving machines and agricultural machinery. Last but not least, next year we'll be launching a gas-powered engine based on our famous KDI and 2504 that will be powered by non-compressed natural gas and compressed gas as well. We are very committed to hybrid applications too. We launched the idea a few years ago, and we're back here at EMA. The innovation is that we have the 48 volt as well as the 97 volt versions. We've seen a lot of interest on the part of our customers because the hybrid solution with internal combustion engine combined with an electric machine can provide advantages with alternative cycles whenever you need torque power requirements intermittently. We're still working on the project, aiming at higher voltage versions. We have nothing to show for the time being, but we have a very broad product portfolio coming up for the next few years. At our booth, we're showing 2 hybrid machines. Please come visit us, and our technical staff will provide you with information and details. And last but not least, this is my last slide, and I'll come to my conclusions. So stay tuned. Stay tuned and pay attention to Kohler. In fact, we have a hydrogen project in store and it's coming up quite well based on our KDI last generation engine. We have high voltage for the hybrid application and also the full electric version for full electric machines. on view of the latest acquisition by Kohler of Curtis Electronics, which of course will pave the way for us towards electrification. Thank you.
Prossima slide, please. Comunque, grazie mille al dottor Mancuso e al dottor
Thank you very much, Mr. Mancuso. Thank you very much, Mr. Rotti, for providing us with an exciting overview on the solutions for propulsion in the future. Meanwhile, we should welcome Mr. Fiorati from CNH. For technical reasons, he couldn't come earlier, but of course he's welcome. As FederUnacoma, because I didn't say this at the beginning, but as a FederUnacoma, which is the National Federation of Agricultural Machinery Manufacturers, the issue of propulsion is very dear to us, and also the way the various propulsion solutions will be implemented. We have asked two companies to present some applications and functional examples with a view to achieving zero carbon impact. Mr. Fiorati will show us the CNH way, and then Mr. Esposito will talk about the Argo tractors solutions for the future and new challenges with special focus on hybrid tractors. Good morning, everybody. There's a bit of a delay. First of all, I do apologize for the delay. I had some technical problems coming here. My name is Stefano Fiorati. Okay. My name is Stefano Fiorati, and I joined CNH Industrial in 2011. I'm responsible for zero emission and advanced drivetrain. All the applications linked to alternative fuels, electrification, and everything that is around these two concepts, the development of drive lines, the development of the hydraulic components, etc. What I'm going to show you today is what CNH is doing in the field of alternative fuels and electrification. Above all, I will tell you about the motivations behind our approach. They're very much customer-based and sustainability-based. We see that sustainability is, of course, increasingly important today. Here we are. CNH. CNH Industrial is a multi-brand company working in the agri-construction industry. As you can see, you have the two main brands, Case and New Holland, in the two agri-construction versions, and then other regional brands, including the Steyr brand. Sorry, I'm not able to advance the slide. Here we are. Perfect. We'll make it. Now, why electrification and alternative fuels? As you can see, there are many reasons. Basically, two are the main points. One is sustainability, CO2 reduction, the new emissions regulations that will be even stricter. So CNH would like to be ready for this. Secondly, customers. The user experience first. We would like to provide our customers with an easy-to-use product and above all an automated product. Electrification enables automation, and this offsets the lack of skilled labor that we witnessed in the last few years. And then new applications, new uses in urban centers, in households. Electrification is taking the lion's share. So the goal is to provide products that are applicable in those environments. Last but not least, as you can see to your right, the financial return. Products which, in other words, reduce the total cost of ownership and increase productivity for the final customer. So please bear this in mind: sustainability and customer-related issues. How does CNH approach these themes? Well, first of all, through alternative fuels. As you know, CNH launched the natural gas tractor in 2021. This is giving rise to parallel projects linked to the vehicle and the infrastructure, which is equally important, especially in this sector. And then electrification, light electrification, electrification of implements. In EMA 2021, we presented a lot of innovation in this respect this year as well, thanks to eSource. And then, hybridization. The prototype you see is the Steyr concept presented in 2019. Last but not least, full electrification, which is basically linked to machines below 100 HP. Here we are establishing strategic partnerships in order to make developments faster. These are the ways in which we will tackle the issues that I mentioned at the beginning. In 2020-2021, I left you with a similar slide to this one. The contents have changed a little bit, but in 2021 we had all these products presented, and then there was a more to come, which is now the Steyr concept presented in 2022, and another concept which is mild hybrid in orchard and vineyard tractors. There will be additional activities and developments because CNH Industrial is very active in this. Just a few examples of products that are being produced at the present time or will be produced. Natural gas operated tractors. They've been presented on other occasions. Their main impact is on CO2. It's zero if the natural gas tractor works in a farm that produces natural gas.
Lo sviluppo interno sul tractor backhoe loader che...
And then the tractor backhoe loader, which is almost ready for production and manufacturing. Apart from making prototypes, we are trying to manufacture them, to bring them to manufacturing. eSource was presented in 2020-2021 within the electrification context. We're working with many manufacturers of implements, also those awarded this year at EMA. X-Power is a product which is meant for electric weed killing. There is a generator set and a head that actually is responsible, it's an electric head responsible for weed killing. And then another theme that I would like to touch upon is the development of mild hybrid solutions for orchard and vineyard tractors. You know, it's the tractor that won the best specialized of the year. It's modular. The system is modular and upgradable. The mild hybrid system basically consists of an internal combustion engine, 55 kilowatts, F28. I think it was presented before, with an after-treatment system developed specially for this application. And then there is in yellow an electric machine in between. It has 48 volts. It's installed in P1 mode. There is not a full electric function though. The system was developed as a joint effort with FPT and New Holland. And then the inverter, the power distribution unit, which is the core of the system, and then the battery pack. The mild hybrid system is well known, together with its benefits. The installation was one of the major challenges in order to keep compatibility with the current tractor. But the true innovation was to implement electrification and the mild hybrid solution. So the power flow can be handled depending on the requests. So you have the mild hybrid solution, which boosts the drive when power demand exceeds 55 kilowatts. And then implement electrification, Nobilis mulcher and the Clemens system in the front. It's still in an innovation phase, in a development phase, but from the first trials we can confirm the results of the past with the e-source system. This is one of the latest developments, focusing on the electrification of the system, not just the tractor but also the implement. It's a key point to provide the final customer with tangible benefits. Our decarbonization process focuses on two themes, customers and sustainability. And here I'm coming to my conclusions. We expect to approach the urban environment also with increasingly electrified construction machinery. We will do so by developing products with strategic partnerships, not just aimed at developing vehicles, but also the infrastructure. In the case of the natural gas tractor, of course the system has to work on a farm that produces natural gas. We'll be working at this very closely. Last but not least, it's important to provide the business, the final consumers, a added value through hybrid and full electric systems, and this is all as far as I'm concerned.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Giovanni Esposito, and I'm the Innovation Director within Argo Tractors. Perfectly in line with what the previous speakers said, I'm going to show you our view of a possible evolution towards electrification of agricultural machinery, with a particular reference to tractors and specialized tractors for agriculture. Argo Tractors is a family-owned group. We are based in the Emilia-Romagna region. We produce tractors with the Landini, Meconic and Valpadana trademarks. Within the Landini brand, we are promoting the electrification solutions that I'm presenting today. In the past years, we presented our view of the possible impact of electrification on specialized and compact tractors, where the focus or the idea was to provide the greatest comfort thanks to the electrification of some components, so greatest driving comfort. We presented a tractor where we have electrified the front axle. This caused hybridization of the tractor, but by electrifying the front axle, there was great impact in terms of increased driving comfort and increased drivers' safety. I mean, this is something we already started some years ago, and we are still going in this direction. And then a second line is hybridization of the tractor. We're talking about a full hybrid tractor and the possibility of exploiting the hybrid solution for completely electric drive. We have developed this prototype. We are presenting it at the fair. One was awarded the Innovation Prize at EIMA. There is also another one at the Landini booth. This is a prototype that is working already. It is full hybrid. It's got an internal combustion engine. It has an electric motor which works on certain occasions with the internal combustion engine. Sometimes it works on its own. To do this, we had to electrify auxiliary systems and components which used to be mechanical in the past. Now, some details of the tractor. This tractor, as I said, is a full hybrid. It's got a 55 kilowatt internal combustion engine. Below 55 kilowatts, we can manufacture, or we can use simpler engines that don't use urea to reduce exhaust gases, and yet they are compliant with stage 5 regulations, which are currently applicable. Then, so we have a compact internal combustion engine, but we also have the possibility to add electrification. When the tractor works as full hybrid, in the full hybrid mode, the 55 kilowatt internal combustion engine works with the electric motor that has a maximum output of 25 kilowatts. You know, this is a 110 HP tractor, and by so doing it is completely exploited, completely used. In this way, as our colleague showed before, we can reduce emissions. We can also reach a situation where the internal combustion engine responds if increased torque or power are required, so the ICE reacts in a certain way. The electric motor that we use has permanent magnets. It also acts very quickly, so it can help the internal combustion engine dynamics. And then if you combine the torque of electric and internal combustion engine, you can obtain a very clear benefits in terms of driving the tractor. The driver has the impression that the tractor is much more powerful thanks to this combination. As I said, emissions can be reduced to a large extent, and also fuel consumption can be reduced. There is a harmonious combination between the two, the internal combustion engine and the electric motor. The electric motor compensates for the low yield moments or points of the internal combustion engine. This is basically the concept of a hybrid system. Of course, by using this technique, the electric motor on certain occasions may also become a generator set, because with the same computer, the system supervisor may have the motor work as a generator, for example, during braking or deceleration. The energy is used to recharge the battery. That's why we see interesting implications in terms of reduced consumption. The energy which is normally dissipated into heat, in this case, is recovered. Having said this, I would like to cover another aspect, another side of the coin. Between the internal combustion engine and the gearbox, we have the electric motor that I was mentioning before, and in between there is a clutch. So the moment you establish a connection between the internal combustion engine and the gearbox, you can fully operate the machine or the tractor electrically. So our choice was to make a hybrid tractor, but what we believe is very important is that this tractor can have mixed use. You can use this tractor to save fuel, but the user at some point may switch off the engine and drive the tractor fully electrically. Through a high capacity battery pack, the energy comes from this battery pack, and the motor provides energy to the powertrain so that the vehicle moves. By so doing, you have zero emissions. The battery tends to become discharged, tends to go down, but it is charged or recharged via the internal combustion engine. High power and torque are available. The electric motor, even if it provides less power output than the ICE plus the EM, can even face overload peaks for a long time if it cools down adequately. As I said, this is our approach. Exploit electrification to the largest possible extent, trying to provide customers with functions that they don't currently have. In the fully electric application, the machine can work for a certain period of time in barns, in greenhouses, or for bio applications. We were talking about tractors working in vineyards that are operated by natural gas. In special operations where zero emissions are an added value, we can manage the whole thing this way. Of course, there are some trade-offs one must accept. For example, we cannot use a too large battery, though we would like to. So we have a high capacity battery, but at the same time the working time is limited to 2 hours. The tractor is not a full electric tractor. There's always an internal combustion engine on board, so the tractor cannot work as full electric all the time. But based on our preliminary research, we think it's an excellent trade-off, because when working outdoors, the machine uses the internal combustion engine. When working indoors, it uses the electric motor. And then when back to outdoors, it's the internal combustion engine that recharges the battery. So it's a self-generating system. The amount of energy provided by the internal combustion engine to the battery pack is modulated by a control system that we have developed. It's modulated on account of the mechanical power that the tractor needs when it's driven. So there is balancing between the internal combustion engine that has to provide power to the wheels and at the same time recharge the batteries when needed. This has implied a series of changes on board the tractor. We're still at a prototype level. We're not ready for marketing these vehicles, but we are clear about the next steps to be undertaken so that this product, within a very short period of time, can be available on the market. What are the new technological challenges ahead of us? And then I'll conclude. Well, as I said before, the challenges are the installation of new batteries on the tractor body. To us engineers, batteries are our enemy for this application. We would like to have large capacity batteries, but we have limited space, especially in compact vehicles like this one. You know, compact tractors don't use the engine 100% of its power, so it's underused. Only less than 50% of the nominal power is used. The tractor represents a trade-off in terms of the possibility that you have to be fully independent in operation because of the battery being recharged by the ICE. We use components that are the result of research carried out into the automotive world and also in trucks. We believe that technology is going to make big steps ahead in these two sectors. Great improvements are made in terms of the volume to power ratio. We're waiting for a technology leap forward, really a technology advancement. The moment this occurs, the technology is ready. Then customization of components. We use electric components, inverters and electric motors, which for obvious reasons are used industrially and in vehicles. But these components are not yet customized for use on tractors. Tractors have certain needs. Again, I'd like to reiterate how important it is that these components are compact because they have to fit within a limited space. As technology advances and as the manufacturers advance in their developments, components will be increasingly customized for use on tractors. That's something we need, and that's something which is taking place already. I believe that soon we will receive what we actually want from them. Another important aspect, and then I will close, is that you do all this in mechanical and metalworking companies. Ours is a medium-sized company with research and development done at an extensive way. Our staff is focused on mechanics and mechatronics of a conventional type. I was talking about a quantum leap for batteries. Actually, all this represents a quantum leap for our company as well. We need additional staff in our R&D department. We need people with non-conventional skills. We have to learn from the university world. We have to train students with these skills and competencies at university. We have to get internally reorganized. We have to reorganize our internal departments. This takes time and a new organizational approach. The fact that we are developing these prototypes is for not only developing components but also developing a new culture. Let me finish by saying that all this does not end with research and development. It is something that involves the whole company, because a high-capacity battery pack has to be stored in a safe fashion. We've all heard about this, even if even if some of us have not been directly involved in this. For example, cell phones that have to be used in a certain way when flying in an airplane. This is something we have to keep into account, so how battery packs are stored. Finally, these are high voltage systems. We are developing the prototype with a 350 volt voltage, but the industrial world is such that 350 volts is the lower limit. The upper limit goes up to 700 volts. So we have high voltage from 350 to 700 volts, together with another world where 48 volts are the norm. But the world is going towards high voltage. This means that also the staff within the company has to manage and handle these systems in the best possible way. This requires reorganization within the company, reorganization of the whole systems and not just affecting R&D. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you, Dr. Fiorati. Thank you, Engineer Esposito. Well, the conclusions are summarized in a slide which is going to come up. We have seen that there are already successful examples in the field, but we've also understood that there is not such a thing as one single solution for the future of agricultural machinery. Agricultural machinery manufacturers will be the first to use the new propulsion systems. They will have an ample range to select from. There are different roads they can go. I'd like to thank Engineer Esposito from Argo Tractors, Dr. Mancuso from Kohler, Engineer Rotti from FDP, and Dr. Fiorati from CNH. Thanks everybody for joining us.